spirit,
spirit.
right?
Where are we? What's happening?
I was telling Larissa I was just doing my taxes, so I'm like a little fogged over. So I gotta bring myself to now. But yeah, I'm Deborah Epstein of the Cosmic Dreaming Lodge.
I'm Larissa Russell of Heart Centered Academy. Yes, I think we were just chatting because we had started a conversation last week, which is why we chose this topic this week. And then we got chatting about what we were going to chat about. And then we got deep into it and went, oh, wait a second, we're supposed to go live. So let's do that. Um, but I just want to back up a second, Deb, so that we can sort of bring people into this, hopefully, and
Mhm,
let them know, you know, where this conversation came from. Do you want to
mhm.
tell the story of the reading, or do you want to tell the story of why we chose silence? Where do we want to start? That's probably what we should have been talking about before we started.
So we could actually start anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all roads converging into one sort of thing. So we were talking the other day about being silent, not saying what needs to be said, or just the level of noise. And I was working on a post for my Substack at that point, and it was like a paradox of silence. And so I was already kind of in that energy or thought process,
Mhm.
because I'm just seeing a lot of stuff um, that is, even healers are doing this. And I don't want to call anybody out on anything, but it's just, we are where we are with stuff. So I'm not saying that we're wrong about it. We're all in a learning about it. And I think this is where we all get to be very careful about how we speak to one another. And that's not being silent, but choosing our words, and learning how to speak truthfully, from your center, from my center, from Larissa from her center, because we each have a different perspective of what we see happening in the world. So there really isn't my truth is the universal truth. And to
Although
say,
some want you to believe that.
yes, that's very dangerous. Run, run from the room.
Mhm.
No, but we're talking about turning and facing it too. We're not talking about hiding from it. And so there's like that element of hiding. So we're wanting to look inside and like, are those parts of ourselves that are, that we've seen the truth, we know the truth, we're truth tellers inherently. We came into the world and we came into these families, we can see the truth. And in the way a sensitive one is a felt sense. It's like we feel the truth of a situation, but then the adults were always talking a different truth, and you can feel the incongruency. And that leaves you when you're little, especially when you're not fully wired into the system yet. So you still have a knowledge of who you are and where you came from, even though you don't know you know it. So you feel the discrepancy in what's being told to you and what you feel is like, a truth. And then if you say the truth, what happens to you? And if you don't say the truth, what it feels like inside of you, like you just went against yourself, but then you had to do it to be able to get along in a family that is your survival system,
Mhm.
right? And so we kind of, we could start there, I think is a good one, because like when I said that, I saw something ping in you, because I think we want to talk about the truth teller in us
And
and the whistleblower in us.
as someone who is that truth teller, whistleblower person, um,
Yeah.
it was a real struggle when I was a kid, to always be told I was wrong. I wasn't seeing what I was seeing. I wasn't hearing what I was hearing. And really, it's not that I wasn't, it's that that's not you don't talk about those things, right? In
Mhm.
polite company. You don't talk about those things in public. They were happening, but we didn't talk about them. So if I was saying them, instead of saying, "Oh, we don't talk about those things," it was just like, "No, that's not happening. That's not
Mhm.
that's not what's really happening." So there was a lot of that, and it never I mean, it shut me up in my family, definitely, but not in the world. I think this is one of the good things about being an autistic person is, like, you say the things, you say the things, right? You see them, you say them. And so I have been that whistleblower, the one who phones the government on the company that I work for, the one who, you know, reports things that I see, the one who calls the cops on the drunk that I see leaving the bar. I have always been that person. Couldn't stop it, but not in my family because I learned very early on that was not safe, right?
Hmm.
Which
Hmm.
then causes that discrepancy, like trusting yourself, right? How do you trust yourself when you've been told things are not true, when you could very clearly see and feel that they were true, and then they weren't?
Hmm.
So I know you have a similar, you know, mm, probably not quite the same, but similar
Yeah, I think
experiences.
I think we could
Mm,
all say that, that we've had that experience somewhere in our upbringing. I can think of, like, right off the top of my head, half a dozen cases. But I think bottom line in all of them, there is this truth that we all agree upon, and the one that I want to say we're going to force,
mhm,
because it's not about perspective or perception, which that is what truth really is. It's like we're like each looking through a different perspective of something. So even just here, how you and I are looking at each other, we're seeing different things. Like, I can look into your screen and see you and what's behind you, and I can look over here in my screen, see me, but I can't see me other than this, and I can't see me the way you see me.
mhm.
And how we see the world is through our own set of filters. And so who is to really say, what the truth is? And I just keep thinking of that Seinfeld episode that if you're one of us, you will da da da, like George wants to get this job. You have to act like us, you have to be like us, you have to talk like us, you have to, hold the same beliefs. And that's very, very tribal. It doesn't allow for creativity, it doesn't allow for diversity, it doesn't allow for expansion or growth. What it does allow for is what we're seeing in the world.
And it's that fear really that is making the world double down, right, on we must conform, we have to be this way, we all have to think this way. We are going to push, push, push to make you see it this way. It's out of fear, right? Because
Hmm.
it is splitting apart. This is what's happening. We're seeing, the changes and, we've talked about this before, how I woke up the morning after the election and was, like, in this state of calm, not because of what happened, but because I woke up to the fact that, "Oh, we actually need this to affect change, and we
Hmm.
can't keep going with what's happening because it's
Yeah.
not working." So we
Hmm.
need the chaos, we need all of this that's happening to affect change in a positive way. It is a difficult thing to live through,
Hmm.
but it's also super important for us to make those changes. And I was going somewhere with that, and I went right out my
That's okay, I'll help you out. So what it makes me think of is, it's like the body, it's like cells in the body. And the difference is when, we introduce a healing into the body, a healing energy or a medicine or something like that. The body itself, all the trillions of cells and different systems within the body, has to acclimate to what just occurred. Whether it be an energetic shift, whether it be a physical shift, a structural shift, a chemical shift, or even, and I've seen this before, it's an awareness shift where you get an aha about something and it changes everything. A little period of chaos.
Mhm.
It's part of systems theory that when something shifts, everything else shifts like dominoes because everything's interwoven and interconnected, right? So it's almost like ha ha ha, try and keep it the same, try and keep it static. You can't stop nature from being nature, and that includes evolution. So what we're kind of feeling right now is the results of the evolutionary changes those of us who have been awakening and who are awake have been generating, feeling, acclimating to, doing it on a lot more conscious way, in a lot more conscious of a way. So that's the awake part. We're doing it in an awakened way
Mhm.
because we're recognizing that we're more than just human beings. We're also we're multidimensional souls.
Mhm.
And whatever, and whatever that means, we start going into that rabbit hole. We only know a fraction of that. So we have to kind of hold all of that very lightly because we can't be in absolute territory when we go there, right? But what we try to do is we try to create absolutes in this 3D reality that we want static, that we want controllable, and we have a hierarchy, and all of that is crumbling. And of course, there's going to be a lot of fear in that crumbling. And but then too, as awakened ones, we do have a responsibility to speak,
Mhm.
and some of that is soul lesson stuff. When you think of, like, if you've been here before, and even if you haven't, there's a historical um, system in place where we've been silenced.
Mhm.
We've been shushed, we've been killed, we've been maimed, we've been tortured, to create the situation that we're in now, or that we're leaving. Actually, I like to say that we're leaving it,
Mhm.
um, to get us suppressed enough to be able to be dominated and controlled.
Yeah, it's so true, and ro reminded me last week when or you and I were chatting, and you were telling the story about seeing someone having their bag taken from them, right?
Yeah.
They were
Yes.
fighting for it, and there was a whole bunch of people on that side of the street, but nobody was paying attention, and you were on the other side of the street and trying to get over there, and just by putting your energy on that, that's what I think where we went with the silence thing, right? It's all about
Yeah.
turning your energy towards something. And so
Yeah.
that might be speaking up. It might be just paying attention. It might be, you know, doing your little bit in your community, but it's about turning our attention on the things that aren't working, the things that are broken, the things that need to be changed. And in whatever way that, but the more we ignore it, the more we have this, right? And the longer it's
Hmm.
going to take for us to move through it, because we're not going to stop it. We're going to move through it, but it's gonna take longer because
Hmm.
if we keep trying to ignore it, it's just going to, like, bog things down. We need to turn our attention on what's happening in
Yeah.
whatever way works for you, right? I don't wanna
Yeah.
say everybody needs to get up and speak and do the thing, but we need to stop being silent about certain things.
Yeah. Yes. And that brings up a really good point, because how truth expresses through each one of us is very different. The jobs, the lessons, whatever you want to call it, our purpose for being here on the planet is, we each have a different one, right?
Mhm,
And we're all here at this time for this. We came in for this, right? So the energies, the transformation, all of that. So it could be that just stepping into what you know your purpose to be, to stop being afraid to do whatever you're being called to. And that could look like, I'm being called to work with children and teaching them how to connect with the land and how to connect with elementals,
mhm,
something that is, you're bringing back an ancient memory that the collective still holds, right? That could be controversial because we're talking about unseen beings, and don't teach my kid that. We've got to teach them hard reality. So it all comes with its own sets of circumstances. So being silent, or getting overwhelmed and pretending that, I can't look at it, so it's, you know, not it's not happening. That's being part of the problem. That we're trying to have ourselves step into our own, what I call, personal authority. See, like,
mhm.
I'm watching the chat and I'm like trying to talk at the same time.
I got you. It's all good.
But, like,
Um,
yeah, that's the part of it too. It's, like, when in that story, what struck me most about that, and, you know, it's something when it happened, I was like, "Wow, that was so interesting," because I felt like it was my intention that broke
mhm,
the energy of what was happening on the other side of the street, and I had a friend with me that kinda witnessed the whole thing with me, so it was like, "Okay, I'm not crazy, I'm not making this up." The way I look at it now, from the perspective I'm in now, it's like prayer. It was like focused attention on a situation that needed to be changed, and even though I wasn't like, "Oh, I'm gonna sit and pray," it was like my intention was to get there. My body movement was to get there. The world, the stop sign, the stoplights, the traffic, the people was the thing that I couldn't get there. Something else got there.
mhm. Your
What was it?
attention got there,
Yeah.
and yeah, and the energy of that. And that's
Mhm.
where we were talking about, when we turn our attention towards something,
Mhm.
it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to get into an argument. We have to, like, stop the person who's, you know, doing the bad thing, but we need to start paying attention to what's happening and put our
Mhm.
attention on that instead of
Yeah.
ignoring it.
Mhm.
Ignoring it has gotten us nowhere. Ignoring it has gotten
Yeah.
us here, actually. It's gotten us somewhere. It's gotten us
Yeah, and I was listening to someone over the weekend, and they were talking about, like, sending energy to our Congress, our president, and how we might not wanna do that because we think of, like, sending prayer to someone as and holding them in the light as doing them a favor, and it's gonna make them worse. We have to let go of outcome,
Mhm,
and we have to understand that on some level, no matter how it's playing out, we're not condoning, right? We're not condoning behaviors. We're sending angels to deal with the situation, or we're sending spirit to deal with the situation, or we're sending whatever your belief system is around that,
mhm,
your higher self, your guides, your whatever. But it can't be done in a way that has an agenda. We have to let go of agenda. We have to let go of outcome. And it's a
mhm,
way of just, if you're shining, like, think of if someone's working in the shadows, which is what's happening, right?
mhm.
Very subversive and working the shadows. And I think of like little rats, little cockroaches, right? Running around, and you could hear them, but you can't see them. And you flip the lights on, everything scatters looking for more shadow. But if we keep flipping lights on, right? If we keep bringing more light to it, it has to get exposed. And when it gets exposed, then we can deal with it, right?
Mhm,
And that's what is happening, but we need to expose more of it. We need more light on the situation, not less. And
mhm,
then, yeah, and then it's the question for us, for the collective us, what are we going to do now that we know,
mhm.
you know?
Yeah, and it might not be that we have to, uh, do anything, right?
Right.
We don't have to. It could be, I mean, we all have to do something. What I mean by that is by turning our energy towards turning those lights on, doing the thing, we start to
Hmm.
bring attention to it, right? When we
Hmm.
stop being silent when somebody says something in our, you know, someone, let's say we're talking to somebody at work and they say something that is, um, I mean, we all have different ideas of how the world should work, but I'm trying to think of something that would be non-political, and everything's political in my head right now.
Use it. It's what's coming up. Use it.
You know, um, that all immigrants, don't belong and need to leave. Let's just
Hmm.
say, instead of being silent, saying, "I don't agree with you," or, "I choose not to speak to you about this," but voicing that you are not in agreement, because silence is a form of agreement,
Yeah.
right? When we are
Hmm.
silent, we are agreeing. Maybe it's going to a family dinner and you've got that relative that says racist things or, you know, talks about women in derogatory ways. Instead of saying silent, either I choose not to be here because of this person, or I'm not going to be silent because of this. I'm not going to accept. I can get up and leave the table. I don't have to get into an argument, but I can get up and leave the table. I can get up and leave the
Mhm.
room. I can get up and leave the house. These are
Mhm.
things that I can do because our silence is allowing this to continue on. And
Yep.
we are so afraid, and it's so indoctrinated into us, right? It's ancestral.
Yep.
We don't wanna get kicked out of the tribe, except for the tribe, you and I were talking about this just before we started. The tribe used to be right here, right now, and you didn't know if there was anybody else. You didn't know where there would be another human that, you could connect with. Nowadays, you just turn on your computer, you just walk out your door, there are other humans, there are other tribes that you can connect with.
Mhm.
But that fear is so part of us, right?
Mhm.
That we have to be able to step away from or acknowledge the fear, but also be okay with being afraid and doing it anyways, because
Mhm.
we cannot keep going the way we're going because it's just gonna drag it out. Change is coming, change is here, but if we continue staying silent, it is going to take longer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
I so needed to hear this. Thank you.
Anytime.
Yeah.
So what I was just as you were talking about that, I just had an insight about the tribal stuff. It's a just the tribal beliefs you're talking about are dysfunctional tribal beliefs, right?
Mm,
We do have built within our systems the need to congregate, the need to create community, but in our family systems where we were shushed or silenced or couldn't tell the truth or we had to get on board with the truth of the tribe, so to
mhm,
speak, that's ancestral too. And there's what we're what we're needing to do with our awareness is untangle the wiring, because that wiring's still within us and it's still driving our behaviors and it's all happening under the radar, under the unconscious. And that's part of awakening too, is when you start seeing your own behavior, your own default, our nervous system is wired to keep us safe. So, like in that situation, you're at the dinner table and someone's saying something that just is like lighting you up. It's it's not as easy for those who've had trauma where they've received harsh punishment when they spoke up, like
mhm,
direct harsh punishment. Um, however it was, whatever it was, the nervous system can shut that down, can shut the throat down and all that. So, you have to be in that situation and take care of yourself, but then come back to it. Don't just go in beat up, going or, I should have da 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 da. My husband tells a story that, I'm not going to use names, but he was in a situation where he saw lecherous behavior and didn't say anything. And then we were in a gathering where we were bringing that stuff to the light and he still didn't say anything because being a guy, he felt like he was part of the problem. He had another trauma on top of that. So he was able to confess it to me the next day. And then I was able to call, the other people that we were in circle with so that I could say something so that it could get woven into the healing. But so it's like even that you get to do it however it comes up. But if you don't, like if he didn't say anything and he just stuffed it down, that does fester inside of our system. That
mhm,
silence, that it comes out in other behaviors. It's not just like this like one for one sort of deal. It's where else is that expressing and how?
mhm,
Because it's like, yeah, I'm being silent and we say I'm not speaking my truth, right? But there's also how we express, and how we express is, you know, the job you're here to do. The way you walk in the world is an expression of your belief system. Your body moves into that, right?
mhm, mhm,
Our health is an expression of our belief systems. We got to start thinking a lot more universally. I was going to say globally, but universally,
mhm,
because we're that multidimensional. So that, and I'm not saying this to convict anyone or to create more fear, because we want to go about this gently. I hope you're hearing me in a, that I'm, let's do it gently, because we've all been wired to shut down.
Mhm.
And that's what we see happening. Fear is being used to keep us quiet because this is what happens when you don't. And we
Mhm.
all have a fear of death. And we have to kind of not, we have to be okay with that, you know?
Mhm.
Um, will it come to that? I don't know.
Well, we're seeing that it does, right? There are times
Yeah.
when your life is on the line for and I just wanted to go back to, what I had said earlier about, getting up and leaving the table or leaving the house. If you don't, because, we all have traumas that we're dealing with and all of those things, not beating yourself up because you didn't, but what can you do differently moving forward, right?
Hmm.
Beating ourselves up for something in the past is not helpful. What can you do differently moving forward, right? If
Hmm.
we let's not add trauma on top of trauma by beating
Right.
ourselves up for something we didn't do. Um,
Hmm.
so,
Well, it's more the same programming though, because we got guilted, we got shamed, we got punished, we get judged. So now we do all that internally, but like what I do is I use that as a marker. If I start feeling guilt, if I start feeling judgment, if I start feeling shame, I use it as an indicator of something that needs to shift. It's just something's coming up for my attention. So what am I making wrong? And then really look at what am I making wrong and is it
mhm,
wrong? You know?
mhm,
It may be wrong for someone that's trying to control you and they won't like that, but you know, what is it for you? I think that there's ways to beat the system within ourselves and it's just learning the key.
paying attention to those things that we do to ourselves, the way we talk to ourselves, I think is such an important part,
Mhm,
right? I know that as much as I work on things, and I have been for like feels like forever, it has been, um, you know, I'm going through these health things right now that, sometimes my body doesn't work the way it's supposed to, and all of these things. And I listen to myself and the way I speak to myself sometimes, like you should, and why didn't you, and all of, and I'm like, I've started to really pay attention to it, and
mhm.
it's like, wow, you would never speak to another person that way, ever. Why would you ever speak to yourself that way? And it is it is amazing to me how incredibly hard on myself I can be. I know people have mentioned it over over my lifetime. Really hard on
Yeah, and
yourself,
and
you know?
whose voice is that anyway? Is it really your authentic voice?
Yeah,
Whose
I
whose voice is
clearly
that?
hear my dad in it actually,
Yeah.
um, clearly. Uh, I learned that one very well, which is really interesting considering that he
Yeah.
really spent so little time with me in my life, but he has such a loud voice, which is very
Isn't that
interesting.
interesting? Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
He had the most impact.
yeah.
He didn't have to be around you too much, right? But then
Nope.
you go, well, that could be, he could be like your divine adversary in life, to get you to look at these things, like we all employ these in our soul journey.
Mhm.
Um, we were also talking before. One of the other things that we were saying was the reading. I had a
Mm,
astrological reading, and she was talking about the upcoming eclipses, and I'm in a Saturn return right now, and the eclipses right now with it's Mercury and Neptune and Saturn conjunct trine whatever, look it up. I'm not an astrologer. But and I'm not even playing one on TV. But my understanding of it is there's a lot to do with communication and a lot to do with stepping into your next iteration, and there's a cycle happening because of where these planets are and the last time they were there. It's like an 18-year upcoming cycle. So if you look back 9 years at what you were doing, so 9 years from now is like about 2017, 2016, 2017, and it's not necessarily what you were doing, like, I just moved to Sedona, like that's part of it, but it was more of what are you, how are you behaving? What are the belief systems coming up? What patterns were being activated? And so for
Mhm.
me, I was like really looking at it a little differently because I was like, okay, yeah, I just gotten into this new job and there was someone I was working with that was triggering me in the same way that I had in relationship with my sister, and this whole like belief system around outshining and diminishing myself and hiding. And hiding for me is like a big theme in my life. And because it's a big theme, it's meant for something I'm to work through and to grow through and to learn from. And so the energy for me in the next 18 years is transforming that. It's now
Mhm.
the energy is at a point. I'm at an age. I've got enough life experience. I'm not growing, or getting married or doing those things anymore. I'm in the stage of mastery. When you get into your late 50s and early 60s, you start moving into mastery or the crone, if you're, that's the crone era, at the wisdom era. And so it's now, okay, let's address this with all of the way my chart is set up. It's like I have the perfect alignment to help me do this. And it's
Mhm.
a conscious choice to start working on it. And how does that want to express? Where does that, what is, it's just opening yourself up to the lessons. I don't have to get all up in my head about it and go, well, that means I got to go do. It's like, well, great information, good to know, and let's just see what unfolds here. But it's the knowledge and awareness that helps make the shift. It's not necessarily the keys to like the kingdom where you're going to do this, and this. That's up to you. You're the one driving the car.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. This is very much that time of life where you take those things that have been fed to you, right? Not that you're not always learning, but, the
Hmm.
majority of your learning has been done with all the life experiences, and you're in that stage, as am I, where, you know, you sit with it, you spend time with it, you allow
Hmm.
it. Let's see what
Hmm.
unfolds. It's so true, and, of course, then I had to get a chronic illness to, put me in my spot because I would not sit still. Yeah,
The
and
other thing about that, and I've been hearing a lot of different people saying that, and I shared with you another friend of
mhm,
mine that's going through a health crisis right now. So it's not, it's 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 what's happening in the field too. Some of us are processing through our bodies so much,
mhm,
that the bodies are upgrading right now. So it's you're in your own little form of chaos. So if you could say, okay, I wasn't listening, but you were where you were,
mhm,
and making it wrong isn't, it's just compiling it. It really, I mean, I've heard other people talk about the energies that are coming onto the planet and how it affects them physically. I know
mhm,
for me, it is affecting me physically too.
mhm,
Um, it, it's it's really getting more into the body and asking, what is my body telling me? What does it want me to know? And letting go of the fight. We have a very big battle program here on our planet where we
mhm,
fight everything.
mhm,
And we like things tied up in a neat little package, and we like things to be a equals b equals c, or a plus b plus c equals d, in a straight line. And it's not like that at all. And it's actually what's shifting too is this, with this, the heart.
mhm.
And it's just how you're going through it. We could call it, was it a soul choice? Was that how your soul chose to do it? Could you talk to your soul and go like, hey, I'm going to participate, can I have it a little easier? I don't know, try
I
it.
could try it, but I don't know that I believe it, so I I do.
Ah. Grasshopper.
So it's like I look at this now as I'm still fighting it a little bit. I still get frustrated with myself and, yeah, like, I've taken more naps in the last couple of months than I have taken in my life, I'm sure of it. Um, but, looking at what is this rest bringing for me?
Mhm.
What is this sharing with me, right? And I do believe I could make, I don't know, a new contract, a new agreement to like, oh, if I get my body back, I'll pay attention. But I don't know that I believe that I would pay attention. I need I need this time to go inward, and my
Mhm.
body not working is allowing me to do that. So, as
Mhm.
much as I get frustrated, I also understand it, and I want to think, I want to believe that I would go, "Oh, okay, if I get my body back, I will still sit with this and allow," but I don't know that I would.
Because you're bargaining. It's you
Mhm,
don't wanna you on a level I'm hearing that maybe you're not hearing is you don't want to bargain with yourself. That you want
mhm,
it sounds to me like you really wanna deeply connect and have a relationship with your body, which is very different than
mhm,
bargaining because that's addict talk, right? If
mm.
you blah, 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 then I'll da, da, da.
And I know myself well enough. I am an addict, so
Right. I don't even believe myself if I say that, right?
yeah.
Because I know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna feel good, and then I'm gonna just ignore things, and things are gonna, it's no, it's having a relationship with your body is very different than just like getting up and go. It's just the thing you're dragging around here, right?
Mhm,
You're treating it now like it's a sacred vessel
mhm,
versus just this thing I got stuck in this, and I hate this because I see the elegant design of the body, and I really appreciate having worked with it on a lot of different levels for a long, long
mhm.
time. To me, it's just very elegantly designed. It's very intelligent. It's very wise. And when people reduce it to like a water bag or a meat suit, I get really, I get incensed. Like, what do you mean? Why are you calling it? It's a living intelligence, an organism. You
Mhm,
know, you're the leader of this. You're the leader of all of these cells in your body that's interwoven and like elegantly designed in so many systems upon systems, some that we can see and some that we can't see. And to me, I mean, yeah, you can hear my passion in that, right?
a little bit. Yeah.
So it's like there's a huge difference, and I hear it in what you're saying. So I hope you're hearing yourself say that too. That
Mhm,
that's the how you may not be using the exact words that I'm using, but how I'm hearing you say what you're saying is I'm going to have a relationship with my body. I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to accept where I'm at. I'm going to enjoy my rest and
okay,
find,
well, we'll
and if
see if
I
I can get
can't,
there, but
yeah, and if I can't find enjoyment, there's these three things I'm trying to remember that Eckhart Tolle talks about, like, because to find more joy in life, there's just things in life that are shitty
Mhm,
and you're not going to enjoy them. I think it's like that. There's three ways of doing it. It's like finding acceptance if you can't find the joy and finding one thing that you can enjoy. I think
mhm,
it's something like that. I may be bastardizing a little bit, but it makes kind of some sense. But,
yeah.
it's kind of unrealistic to say like I can find joy in every single moment. I know I'm not there yet. I mean, I was just doing my taxes before I hopped on here. There was nothing enjoyable about that at all.
Yes. Although I, on the other hand, love stuff like that, so, yeah, everyone has their thing.
Here you go. Like it makes my head hurt right there, right? I mean, it's like the enjoyable part is being done.
Yes. There we go, there we go. Well, speaking of rest and bodies, I think it's time for me to, pay attention to mine before I
Yeah,
completely fade.
yeah.
Any final
Well,
thoughts, anything you wanna share with
I think we covered pretty much all that we were going to cover, but I'd love to hear, like, if you're listening to this later, like, if you want to send a note or what you think about this. And I did write a post on Substack that kind of encapsulates a lot of what we talked about in a different sort of way. But yeah, I feel that we get to be easy on ourselves. We get to allow for our growth. It's not about yelling and shouting from the rooftops, but hey, if that's what you're called to do, go for it. You know, it's really that kind of silence that kills. You know
Mm,
that we're talking about here. There's silence that's very productive silence. It's healthy silence, and then there's the pretending it doesn't exist kind of silence, or the
yeah,
the hiding in fear kind of silence. And if that's you, if you're the hiding in fear kind of silence, I would just invite you to go in and feel what you're
mm,
hiding from. Are you in a situation in your life that requires you to do that? you don't want to, you know, you don't want to
Yeah, don't put yourself
push
in
your,
danger.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Thank you for jumping in on that one.
yeah. But
Yeah,
but
no
truly
danger,
feel in.
no
Are
hurting
you in
yourself.
danger? Are you truly in danger? Or do you just feel like you're in danger? Because those are
Hmm.
2 very different things, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
So,
follow Deborah on Substack, because, yeah, you do have some great stuff. I'm thinking about jumping on there and sharing my, journey as I go through the
oh,
process of
that's an awesome idea. Yeah. The
this.
the platform is really getting interesting because they're adding a lot of stuff to it now so that you could, I'm looking into, I'm working on a project with another sanctioned teacher in the lineage, and we're putting together we've been working our mesas together, so we're creating a really interesting field around healing, dreaming, creating, and celebrating, and imagination,
Mhm,
in using kind of the framework of our tradition to kind of hold space in that way. So I'm looking at Substack, a section, I called it something new, where you can house, like, you can house your email list, you can house different activities, different videos, different audio things. And then you can also do live events if you wanted to do it there, or you can link, a live event, like an invitation to a Zoom. So you can really streamline
mm,
what you have for all of those services, that as a person that works online, like, had so many different, like, moving parts. I
mhm,
love the way they're kind of shifting that over, and it's really just our creativity that would be the inhibitor here.
yeah.
And then, of course, the language is a little different on how they do things too, so it's a little learning curve. But
Yeah, yeah, I'm not too worried about that, but I just thought, I was talking to somebody recently and they're like they were saying, "Oh, you should be sharing this." And I was like, "Oh, do people really wanna hear about what I'm going through?" And she's like, "Yeah, because it's not just that, you're suffering, it's like what you're learning from that. What you're
yeah,
what's shifting in you." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. Okay, maybe I do." I often tell stories after the fact, but not during, and so maybe
yeah,
it would be a good processing way.
yeah, like the messy middle, like a
Mm,
diary entry or something like that.
mhm,
There's a lot of cool possibilities with that, um, because especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're a very visible entrepreneur, who's been through burnout. There's through the types of marketing that we were taught how to do, and I mean, that's
mhm,
part of it. It's like that's part of what's shifting too, because there's so much out there. We start thinking things in when we're coming from a place of lack, that there's not enough, and I have to
mhm.
be let that up, I have to be up here on the ladder. And then you end up pushing and yelling and shouting and clamoring, and that's against a lot of people's systems. And I don't think they're listening anyway because everyone else is doing that too. So,
Yeah, and I think it really is such a big thing right now. Maybe
hmm,
it's just I'm seeing a lot of it because I'm going through it, but
hmm,
the collective nervous system is overwhelmed,
yeah.
and doing things differently, I think is such an important part. I know I've had to, but, um, I'm seeing it more and more from people. So,
Mhm,
yeah, yeah.
mhm.
Um, LS Owl QS. I feel like I should be saying that in a certain way, but I'm not sure. Acceptance is key in all you talked about. Thank you. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
chiming in. We do love the comments and appreciate when people chime in. I don't know, they don't show up in all the places, but they are showing up over here, so, yay. Um, but we also would love to hear after the fact, if there's anything that you found, really resonated with you or you disagree or you just have any like, we're okay with that. Just share,
Yeah.
Don't stay silent. Use your voice. You've got one.
How horrible would that be? Is like we're encouraging to use your voices, and because we didn't like what you said, we're gonna shut you down. No, we
Yes.
won't do it.
No, we wanna hear from you, so thank you. I'm also gonna try and figure out why we're these tiny little boxes on YouTube, but, that's a whole other thing.
See,
That's
it's
that's for
very
another day.
It's a very interesting frame.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll need to work on that and see what if there's something
Oh,
we can do
boy.
differently. But I wanna thank
Yeah.
everyone for being here today. Any final thoughts, Deborah?
No, just
It's
thank you
nap
so
time.
much, and, yeah, keep in touch, and we'll be doing the same here, and